Go to the emergency room right now.
I felt like God had told me, you're not doing the surgery. And I was pissed.
Yeah.
Because I've been in so much pain. I'm like, okay, then what? What am I supposed to do? Because my back is jacked up. I didn't have the faith that I was going to be healed. Holly had the faith for me.
Welcome back to the Maeband podcast. I'm Holly.
And I'm Bryan.
And we are here today to talk about modern day miracles.
Yep. This is going to be probably the most, what's the word? Vulnerable I've ever been in my life, probably. And I don't like it. And I'm nervous. And I'm afraid I'm going to like cry. Like all sorts of stuff. And I don't like this.
I would love to see you cry. I would love it.
She does like to see me cry. Only when it's like a painful cry, though. Not her. Just she likes to see her.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised when Bryan said, like, I feel like we should do this podcast. And I was like, okay, yeah, like we'll do it. Like, let's do something else. And he's like, no, I think we should do it today. I'm like, today?
It's a wild story.
Of like miraculous healing.
Miraculous things that have happened. If it was just me, I would probably think I was just like hallucinating everything. But like Holly was there to validate it, and like more people. So anyway,
we're gonna try and condense it as much as possible.
Yeah.
We do have a blog written about it that's probably gonna be a little more detailed.
Yep.
It's on eternalprogressblog.com. So basically it started in October 2015. Bryan herniated a couple of discs.
Yep. In my neck.
Extreme pain. We went to the doctor, got cortisone shots.
Yep.
Or one cortisone shot. And it was like, and he was in extreme pain for what, a week and a half?
It was about a week and a half.
Doctor, yeah. And he was just stuck there. He couldn't move.
Yeah, like it was like pinching against my nerve. My hand was like stuck. Like I couldn't move it. It was awful. But it was like a week and a half.
And it was like pure hell for both of us for this week and a half. Like,
because I was just complaining.
And then we got the cortisone shot, and he was like, immediately, like, oh, I can move.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, the worst of our problems are over.
And God was like,
I think it was like on our anniversary, wasn't it? October 13th?
Something because we keep joking. We've been in the emergency room like for like 4 of our anniversaries. I don't know.
So he got the cortisone shot, immediately felt better. And he went back to work, and he was a landscaper at the time. He's working. And then I clearly remember like the day he came home, and he was like, I was like out there blowing out lines, and all of a sudden my back started hurting. Like, I don't know.
It was really weird. It was like sudden.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, did I pull something? I did something.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, you're such a baby.
Yeah.
And then
I remember I had to like go do work, and I was like trying to put my socks on. And my back, it's my lower back. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with my back? Yeah. It hurts so bad, but I was just trying to toughen it up.
And it just like gradually got worse. And then it got to the point where you couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to the point where I literally couldn't get out of bed. We ended up going to the doctor after that, but so Holly went and got how many? 3 of our neighbors? Mm-hmm. 3 of our neighbors to pick me up and carry me out of the house and carry me down the stairs.
Into the car,
because I couldn't get, I remember.
So I could take him to the doctor.
Yeah. We woke up one morning. She's like, all right, we got a doctor's appointment in like an hour. I'm going to go to the gym, because she worked out across the street. She's like, you get ready. I'm like, okay. That gives me an hour. It took me the full hour to get my pants on and my shirt on for them to come back up the stairs. And by this point, I had lost a lot of weight. I'd probably lost, I was when I first got hurt.
It was like 50, it was 50 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, 50 pounds of muscle
had lost.
Because that's what I was doing. I was deadlifting, and that's what hurt my neck. But anyway, so yeah, my back was jacked up, and so. And
they said, so we went to the doctor, and they said, oh, you've stress fractured your spine, and you need to rest for like 6 to 8 weeks. They gave him some pain meds and some steroid meds, and that was his prescription, like rest 6 to 8 weeks. Yep. And we were like, what? How could he have like a stress fractured? Like it made no sense. And I kept saying like this, like he had the cortisone shot, and then within a couple of weeks, all of a sudden he had pain in his back. Like, could it be related? No, couldn't be related. That's what the doctor said. No, not related. And we were like, this, like, how did he? And we could not figure out how he could have stress fractured his back.
I remember, like, I stood up. Remember that when I stood up, and I was like, Holly, I feel like my back is going to break in half. Like when I would stand up, it felt like I was going to fold in half because it was just the strangest pain. But I was just like, if I stand, because I told Holly, I'm like, hey, Holly, I think my back is going to break if I stand up. I was terrified.
And I feel like those next couple months were kind of a blur. So January comes, we go to another, I think this is like the third doctor, like we trying to figure out what is going on with them. This doctor draws blood and then we go back in for the follow-up and he's like, I'm pretty sure you have cancer.
Yeah, you have leukemia is what I was told.
Leukemia or multiple myeloma.
Yeah, that was the other
were the two different cancers. He was like, he didn't say 100%. He was like
just
90, it's like all the, all the, like all the white,
markers,
all the markers show that like this is cancer. So you need to go see a doctor, an oncologist. Yeah, make an appointment with and then to make an appointment with an oncologist was like a month out.
It was like 3 months.
Yeah.
It was way down the road.
But then his sister was super nice and like called and yelled
harassed everybody
harassed
to get
him
me in.
and like got him in earlier. So we get in earlier.
I finally got into the doctor like March. I think.
Did the biopsy and then came back and it wasn't cancer.
Yeah.
Like they were like, it's not cancer. And we're like, well, then
what
what's going on?
Yeah.
Like it was like relief, not cancer. Because for like a month, I'm thinking my husband's gonna die. He has cancer. Like
I looked like I was dying.
And he looked like he was. Everyone that saw him was like, yeah, oh my gosh, like Bryan is going to die.
Yeah, I had friends tell me they were like they would see me and they're like, I thought you were on your last day. I'm tall. I'm like 6'4" and I weighed about 170 pounds. Like I was skin and bones.
It was awful.
Yeah,
so they say it's not cancer, and we're like, oh, relief. But then, now what? And they're like, I think it's some kind of an infection. So we call his other doctor, or his other doctor called us, and we're like, these are the results. So he called, and I remember it was like late at night. He calls and leaves a message, and he's like, go to the emergency room right now. This is staph infection.
Like 6 months later,
and we were like,
you got to go now.
Like, we've been sitting here waiting with this infection in his back for how long? And now all of a sudden, like, go to the emergency room.
Yep.
So, like, we go and he gets
staph.
it. Yeah, it was staph infection. He gets a PICC line to like give him antibiotics to clear up this infection that's, staph infection in his back. We go in for another biopsy, another MRI, because you were still hurting.
Yep,
like he still had pain in his back. It was still really bad. And so we go in for the MRI and then we go see the doctor and they said, the infection is gone. And any remaining pain that you now have is permanent damage of the disc and spine caused by staph.
So it said, this is what the doctor said. It said the staph had eaten away one whole disc, right? Mm-hmm. And then part of my spine, like part of the vertebrae was gone and eaten by the staph. And so that's why you're still in pain. We
were told by 3 different doctors, discs don't heal. You have to get surgery to fix this.
Yep. You have to put rods in your spine and disc replacement.
Yeah. So the only option is surgery. And so the surgery was to remove what was left of his disc, remove part of the damaged vertebrae, and then fuse your spine together with rods.
Yep.
So we made the appointment for surgery, and then we left out of the doctor's office after making the appointment, and we both sat in the car, and both of us were like, you're not supposed to do this.
Yeah. It was just a weird feeling, which reminds you, I'd been in constant pain for like 5 or 6 months. And so I was thinking, okay, this surgery is going to get me out of pain finally. I'm like, I can't wait to have this stupid surgery because I have been in so much pain for so long. And then we walk out of the car and I think we were both just sitting there. And then I think I asked you, didn't I? I was like, so what do you think? And she's like, I don't know. What do you think? And I was like,
because I knew I couldn't be the one. I could not be the one to be like, you don't get surgery. You cannot get surgery. Even though I felt it, I knew like he had to have that feeling.
And I did. And so I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to get surgery. So
and immediately I was like, oh, good. I'm so glad he felt that too. Yeah, you were mad.
I was super mad. So I felt like God had told me, you're not doing the surgery. And I was pissed.
Yeah.
Because I've been in so much pain. I'm like, okay, then what? What am I supposed to do? Because my back is jacked up. I can barely walk. I look like an old man. I was like, what? 36?
You like felt like God was like trying to hurt you and like torture you.
Sorry. I know it was, but then, I mean, I understand. So you gotta understand when you're in that much pain for that long, it just starts messing with your brain. Like, you just start, I don't know. My brain was in a bad spot. Plus I was on ungodly amounts of painkillers. I was going through my month's supply in like 2 weeks. So I was taking a lot. And so I was just like, okay,
Way
this is
too much.
Yeah, way too much. And so I was like, I guess this is my life, because I'm not supposed to have surgery. I'm just supposed to suffer the rest of my life and take freaking painkillers for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And me, like, so then we ended up watching this movie called The War Room, and it inspired me to create my own war room, which I did. And I like went to my closet. I put up all of these like inspirational messages and like memes and like quotes like all over my closet wall. And then I started like praying, and I started writing my prayers out to God and then posting those on the wall. And I'm just like every day going into this war room multiple times a day, like all throughout the day, I'm just like going in there and just crying and pleading and like asking God to help and asking him to heal Bryan. Like every day it was just like heal Bryan, like make him stronger physically, spiritually, mentally than he ever has in his life. And
I had probably stopped praying at this point.
Yeah.
'Cause I was just like, whatever. He's bailed on me.
it was
So I'm like, this is it. This is my life.
there was just so much pleading and
On her part.
yeah. And so as I did this, like as I started praying that much and started going to him, it was a learning experience for me. And I slowly learned how to listen and make decisions with my heart and not with my brain. God was teaching me how to hear him, like through this time. I learned to battle my demons. I learned that confusion and fear and negative thoughts don't come from God, that those are like your demons. And I also learned that God, like anything from God, only comes through strength, peace, and comfort. Like even if it's in the midst of your trials, it only comes through strength, peace, and comfort. God does not give confusion. God does not give fear. So that was just kind of a learning experience for me, and like learning what is coming from God and what was not. Mind, body, and spirit are connected. And if one of those are amiss, then like all the others get out of whack. So at one point during prayer, it came to me super strong that we would both be extremely grateful for this experience, and that would be better off. Our lives would be better off because of it. And that if given the choice, neither one of us would go back and change.
And she made the mistake of telling me that.
I did tell him.
I might have thrown a book at her and she came in and said it.
I was a little nervous telling you. I was like, Bryan, like listen to this hope. Like, this is amazing. Like, it was such a strong, like spiritual prompt. Like, and I knew it was true. And I'm telling him this, and he's just looking at me, or maybe glaring at me.
I hate you.
Like, easy for you to say. This is what he literally, easy for you to say.
That's what I said.
You're not the one in pain. I was like, I know, but it's really not easy for me to say, because I really was in a lot of pain. Like, you know, it's not easy when your spouse is in pain and dealing with all that stuff. But so then another thing we started doing was we had these foot zoning sessions, and she was super helpful. And what she did was she helped give Bryan the strength and the willpower to start listening to God and like following his promptings, and things that he had been prompted to do before that he previously disregarded. He started like getting the strength and willpower from these sessions to follow God.
I feel like that's basically, she gave me a lot of strength.
And I think it was more just she was like almost like a personal mentor to him.
Yeah,
And she
that's what I
also
was gonna say. It
did
was more like a mentor.
She also did like foot zoning, you know, while she did it, which, you know, there's some scientific stuff behind that and like helping your body heal. But she really mentored him and helped him, like gave him that strength and find that strength to like start on his path to healing. So one of the things that she helped give him the courage to do was to quit pain medication. And even though he was in all this pain, he had been feeling like he needed to quit pain meds, even though he was still in pain, even though his back wasn't healed.
Yeah, I thought it was like another cruel joke.
Yeah, he thought God was being mean again.
He's like, I'm like, God's such a bully. He wouldn't let me have a surgery, and now he wants to take my painkillers away. I kept getting prompted to quit the painkillers. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. You're crazy. Like, you know, and so I finally got the strength to do that. It was awful because I'd been like fully addicted to these things I guess it's not that long, but it was 8 months by this point, 8 or 9 months, where I just was taking like 20 or 30 a day, like really heavy stuff. Like I was going through a lot. And so my body was
Which
very
he
dependent.
was taking way more than he was supposed to.
Just when all this was happening, I guess this is the part where I feel like the things get a little weird. Like when all this was happening, I started to notice things around me that weren't really there. Does that make sense? No, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. I know it sounds stupid, but I like.
Oh, well, let's just say one of the people that were helping mentor us helped explain through our different experiences and spiritual experiences. They explained to us that Bryan has a gift of like seeing and feeling, and I have a gift of knowing and hearing.
Yeah. So I'll just say it. Like I felt like I was being bombarded by evil. That's just the best way to say it. I felt like I was just being attacked by evil, like constantly, all the time. And so I was in a weird state because I was addicted to painkillers, and I was like, felt like I just had evil around me all the time, which was really weird. Obviously I probably wasn't a delight to be around for that at that time. But yeah, so I finally decided, I'm like, okay, I'm going to quit these things, and I'm going to just suffer for however long I have to suffer. And so I quit them, and I was in excruciating pain. I remember I would take over the counter sleeping meds to just try and sleep all day and all night, just because it was just, I can still, it's so vivid in my head of how awful that was, like going through withdrawals and the pain. But I was up in the bed. She came over again to do her mentoring.
Yeah, so he had these like appointments a couple times a week, and I was kind of setting him up, and she'd come over, and I knew like he'd been off for a couple days maybe, and there was some dark, like just being around him. There was some darkness that I could feel being around him, and I knew that he was not going to be okay with her coming that day. So I didn't tell him that day. I waited till I knew she would already be on her way. And I was like, oh, by the way, we got that appointment. And he was like, not happy. And he I
really liked her. I always liked her. But she was very sensitive to that kind of stuff too. And so she kind of could feel it around me as well.
Yeah. He was like, no, call her up and cancel. I'm not doing it today. Like, no. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's too late. Like, she's already on her way. And like, she comes over, and like immediately,
right as she opens the door,
she was like, well, I think before we get started today, we have a few entities we need to take care of.
Yeah, it was really weird. And I was just like glaring at her through the door. I was like, I hate you. I didn't hate her. Obviously I loved her, but there was just like, my head was so jacked up. So we started with
She asked him to say the prayer.
Yeah. And I think I said no, because I just didn't want to. Like I said, it was weird, but I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need to pray. And so they said a prayer. After she's like, okay, I don't think that worked, because we were all just kind of sitting there, and there was still this tension in the house. Like it was just weird. It was, I don't know if you've ever experienced something like that, you'll understand. But if you've never experienced anything, you probably just think I'm schizophrenic or crazy. Holly used to.
I used to until I was around him long enough and experienced it.
So,
but she did have another person with him.
She had another person with her. They would ask me a question, and I was just like throwing little jabs at them, and I think they were just kind of like, "What is happening?" And so, they were just they were confused. It was just me, Holly, these two. Like none of our kids were in the house. And the guy that was with her, he would
actually play music to like, that was his gift, was music.
His gift was music.
Yeah,
right?
you play it to the energy.
So he just came up. He's like, all right, I can't remember what he said to me. He just walked up to me. He's like, what'd he say? We got to get rid of this crap, or what? I don't know what he said, but he was like blunt. He was like, you got something wrong with you. We need to fix it. And so, this is always the hardest part. So our church, it was just like basically somebody praying for you, but they put their hands on you to pray, right? And I've had a million blessings, and nothing has come of them. Nothing has happened, and nothing miraculous, I should say, but nothing. It's just like a regular prayer. So, but this time it was different. So this time he put his hands on my head to say the prayer, and immediately, like soon as he started the prayer, it almost went into how do I describe it? It's like I could see things around me, but my eyes were closed. And so it almost felt like he went away, sort of, and then more people were around me. Does that make sense? I don't know. Like it felt like there were more people surrounding me. And
Well, I think there are always more people surrounding us that we just can't see. And
yeah,
at that point, that's
yeah.
what I
Like
saw.
one of them was like it was weird because I just knew it was my grandpa. I knew my grandpa was there, and it was just weird. I'm like, what? My grandpa's here. This is crazy. I'd never had any kind of experiences like that. So there was my grandpa, this guy, and then two more people. I don't think I'm going to get into who they were, but they were angelic. Is the best thing. I don't know. That's the best way to say it. They were angelic. So, I don't like, this is so hard for me because I like get super emotional. I don't like getting emotional ever. So as we were doing the blessing, we were kind of facing, I was facing my kitchen, and there's just this door that's like open. It's not a door. It's like a walkway. Everybody was behind me. My eyes were closed this whole time. So don't ask me how it happened because my eyes were literally closed. I was like, had my head down. But all of a sudden I could sense like these people were around me, and I could sense that the bad things around me were terrified. Strange. I know I sound nuts, but so I could sense that like, sorry, this is going on really long, but I could sense like the bad things around me were scared, and they were like really scared. And I was like, what is happening? And then I looked up, not really looked up because my eyes are still closed. And then to this walkway, but with my eyes being closed, I could see, I don't know how to, it's so hard. Why is this so hard for me to say? But it is, I don't know why it's so hard. So with my eyes closed, I looked up and I see a figure like walk through the doorway. It's like I said, it's not a doorway, it's just like a walkway, but he like walked through, and don't look at me.
It's okay.
She looks at me, and it makes me like teary eyed. So
It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to cry. Like who wouldn't cry when they see this?
So anyway, it was I shouldn't have done this. So it was Jesus Christ himself. It was the Savior. So he appeared, and he was just slowly like walking towards me with a smile on his face. And then it was really weird. I could see these like black, I don't know, they were like shadows or balls like flying away from me. And they were like flying towards the back door just to leave the house. They were just like flying away from me as he was walking closer to me. And then he stopped in front of me, and then he disappeared.
Did you say he was smiling?
Yeah, that's why he was smiling. Like as he was walking up to me, he was smiling. I didn't. I still to this day remember what he looks like because there's a little girl that painted him that she said she saw him, and that's exactly what I saw. But that's what he looked like, and he just had a smile on his face, and it scared the hell out of everything that was bad around me. And then they took off and bolted. And so, and then all of a sudden the prayer was over. It was just like that. It felt like it was maybe 8 seconds long, right? It was like maybe
it was a lot longer. It was a few minutes.
Yeah, it was a few minutes. Apparently, I didn't know. It felt like it was like 8 seconds long, and they said amen, and I was like, holy cow! I feel really good. Like I feel like everything bad.
You immediately felt better.
Yeah.
As soon as the prayer was over, I could tell like everything was gone. Everything felt better. Like the room was clear. Like it just felt lighter in the room, and none of us like knew what happened. Like they knew, they felt it was like the room was better, but obviously no one saw what you saw.
Yeah. And so it was just, I saw, the Savior walk in, and he scared everything away, and then he just disappeared. But in my eyes, it was like I said, it was like 8 seconds long. I asked him, I was like, how long was that blessing? Because it literally felt like you were talking for like 5 or 6 seconds. And he's like, yeah, it was a few minutes long. So I lost time for a split second, I guess. And then I just told him, I was like, hey, I feel good. Everything's good. Everything's going to be fine. That's what I thought. And so I'm like, yeah, everything's going to be good. Everything's taken care of. And so I felt really good that day. And then obviously the night came, and the pains came back, and I got back into my funk,
Mm-hmm. So a couple more days went by, and then
still
Sunday,
sleeping up in the back room.
Still sleeping in the back room. He was like back to where he was. But it had that experience, and it was just, I think,
Life-changing, obviously.
yeah, life-changing. And then Sunday rolls around, and we had an appointment with our bishop scheduled, a leader in our church. And so I went up there, and I'm like, hey, Bryan, like, we have this appointment that was scheduled, and we're supposed to be there in like 30 minutes. And he was like, what? No, like, I'm in way too much pain. I'm not going. How could you, like, he was pretty upset with me. Like, how could you schedule this when you know I'm in all this pain? And you don't, like, he was like, you don't even care about me or how I'm feeling. I'm like, no, like, you really think that? You really think that I don't care? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, okay, I'll cancel it then if that's how you feel. So I turned around to go walk out the door and cancel. And immediately it was just like this voice.
Make him go.
Yeah, you are going. You guys have to go. So I turned back around and I told him, like, Bryan, I'm sorry. Like, you, for some reason, we have to go. I don't know why, but we need to go. And
so we went.
Yeah, so we went, and we went to the appointment, and we were about to walk out the doors to go home. And this was like something called state conference in our church, and
church was starting.
Everybody was coming in, and we're leaving. And Bryan stops and looks at everybody walking in, and he goes, "Are we staying?" And I'm like shocked, because all I had promised was that we just would go there and have our appointment and leave. And I'm like, well, that's up to you, because all I know is I was supposed to get you here. So whatever we do now is on you. And he's like,
so we stayed.
Yeah, we're supposed to stay. So we stayed, and he was in so much pain the whole time. Like, he's fidget, like during all the talks, he's just like, and actually I was in the room, and he went out into like the foyer on the couches because he was in so much pain and he couldn't like sit in the chairs.
Yeah. So I was just out in the hallway on the couch, because that was like the only pain, like that would help my back. So
yeah.
So anyway, while I was out there, this is a really cool part of the story. But as I was out there, it was just me and this other lady in the hallway. She was sitting opposite of me, maybe 30 or 40 feet, right? So she's a ways away, and she was an older lady. She looked like she was maybe 60 or so. And then she just looks over at me and points up and starts talking. And I'm like, what is this lady? This person is crazy. And then I'm like, because usually that's what I do. I'm like, yeah, just dismiss it, because I don't like talking to people most of the time. And then she just keeps talking to me and pointing up. I was like, what? And I'm like looking up. I'm like, what is happening? And then she finally comes over.
Yeah, she said, God has faith in you.
Yeah, that's what I think that was the first thing she said to me. She's like, God has faith in you. I'm like, what? Who are you? I'm like, why is this crazy person coming up to me?
And then she said, Jesus wants you to know he has faith in you.
Yeah. And then, so this is what she said, because I told Holly everything she said, because I just went back but anyway, so she walks up to me and says, God has faith in you.
Yeah. Jesus wants you to know he has faith in you. He wants you to know he's with you. He's around you all the time. He's suffered more than you have. He knows you can get through this.
Yeah.
He loves you. He's here to help you. He can change this in an instant.
Yeah. You have something to learn.
You have something you need to learn. This happened for a reason. You need to have faith in him because he has faith in you. Don't give up.
Yeah.
God has the power to heal you. You have something you need to learn first. And as soon as you do, you will be healed. You'll be grateful for this experience and better because of it. You'll be able to use this to help others. Thank him for what you have and for this experience.
So this is just some random lady that I've never seen before in my life. She doesn't know what's going on in my life. She just comes up and says all these things to me. And like, as she was talking, that's how we know exactly what she wrote. So I'm like, hey, Holly, she said this and this. And then
like right after when he told me about it.
Yeah. And then she came up and she's like, hey, he's trying to talk to you, and gave me a piece of paper and a pen. And she's like, he's trying to talk to you. Listen. And I'm like, what is happening? And so she just walked away, and I'm like, okay. And then I had these thoughts come into my head. What was profound to me is what she had said. Like, she doesn't know me. She doesn't know what I'm going through. She has no idea what just happened, that I literally saw the Savior a few days prior to this. But then she was just like, yeah, when she said he's with you, he's always with you. The part that really struck me is he suffered more than you. And so that kind of like humbled me a little bit. It was still hard to cope with, but it was hearing that was hard. So yeah, I walked into Holly. I'm like, hey, Holly, guess what? And she's like, oh, Yeah, if there's,
If there
thank
was a-
you. I'm validated in bringing you
like
here.
making you come. Yeah.
So
So then we
we're-
were trying to figure out like, what do you need to learn?
yeah,
If there's something you need to learn to be healed, what do you need to learn?
yep.
So he continued, like he was still in pain from not only his back, but I remember you said your body felt like when
Been
you're
hit
going
by a
through
truck
withdrawals,
with
you've been hit by a truck.
Another couple days goes by, and I remember I was trying to work because I had to go back to work. No, I had to go home because the pain is so bad. Anyway, so that night, I'll just jump to that night. I'll just jump to it. So that night,
So it was a week since this
Yeah.
lady had
Week
talked
had
to
gone
him
by.
and told him that, you know, he could be healed.
yeah, and so a week had gone by, and it was the next morning, like it was like 4 a.m. I think it was about 4 or something like that. It was super early in the morning. I woke up.
Yeah, you woke up.
Because I couldn't sleep, and I just wandered around the house, and I went and like snuggled with my daughter because she was asleep. I'm like, oh, I'll go snuggle with her for like 2 minutes because then it would hurt. And so I'd get up and go and snuggle with my other daughter and stuff. And it was a hard thing for them because, you know, we were always play fighting and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And then I'd turn into this dad that just didn't want to do anything to do with anybody because I was in pain and stuff. So
And then we'd also recently learned that between the hours of like 3:30 and 5:30 is like a kind of you can like hear and communicate with God more.
yeah, that's the best time to pray. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I started praying. I started praying like crazy, and then I had gotten back in my bed. I'd gotten back in my bed by this time, and we didn't have our two daughters at this point. So that's probably
Our two youngest
relevant.
daughters.
So I got back in my bed, and I remember I was just laying on my back, and I just started praying, like, "What the heck? Like, what do you need? I need this fixed." So I fell asleep for a split second. I felt like it was just a split second, and then all of a sudden I woke up, and my eyes shot open, and it was just really weird. Like the room had changed. Not like physically, but it was just like, you know, the energy in the room. And so all of a sudden, and then my eyes shut. And I had no control over my eyes. It was the strangest thing. I've never had anything like this happen since or before.
And you say you felt paralyzed?
Yeah. So I was laying there on my back, and then I felt my body. I don't know if that makes sense, but I felt it go paralyzed. So all of a sudden I couldn't move, but I was like completely like as stiff as a board, but my eyes were shut. Then I slowly started feeling my body raise off the bed. I know this sounds insane. I started feeling my body like raise slowly up off the bed.
And then didn't at this point you said you realized that it was your spirit and not your body?
I didn't know. Later on, I didn't know.
Oh.
I didn't know. I have no idea. But it just felt, all I knew is I was like floating up off the bed. And it felt like it's still very vivid to me. It felt like maybe I was 2 feet off the bed, maybe. I didn't feel like I was going up to the ceiling or anything, but like I was about 2 feet off the bed, and then all of a sudden I saw these balls of light. They were like yellow and red and orange, and they were like flying at me. It was really weird. Like they were just like flying towards me, and I could see them, but my eyes were closed.
Were they flying towards your back? Isn't that what you
No,
said?
they were just coming right at me. So it was just, yeah. So it was really strange because my eyes were completely shut, but I'm seeing these things fly at me. And then it just stops. And then I slowly lowered back down onto the bed. And then I just lay in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm paralyzed. Because that's what I thought. I was like, I've just been paralyzed for some reason. Like I didn't know if I broke my back. I don't know. I was just like, I'm paralyzed. Oh my gosh, what is happening? And then I started feeling back in my toes, and it's so weird. And then it slowly worked its way all the way up to my whole body. I remember because my eyes were still shut and I couldn't open them. I was like trying to force them open. So I grabbed my fingers and I was like prying them open. So I finally got them open, and I was just laying there. And then all of a sudden I felt.
Well, and you said you saw a little girl too.
Oh yeah. So I don't even understand how I saw this. I think this was as I was floating, but I saw a little girl with super curly hair standing next to me and just like watching me. It was, I don't even know how to describe these things, but she was just this little girl. She looked like she was about 6, and she just had super curly hair, and she was just standing next to me and just like watching me. Really weird. And the reason why I say that is because I believe it was my one daughter before she was born. I don't know. That sounds weird, but after I've seen her now,
It's in our beliefs. We believe that we're, here before we came to earth, we were up in heaven.
Formed, whatever.
Yeah.
So I pried my eyes open, and I just started looking around, and then I immediately, my back felt different. That's the best way to describe it. It felt like I told Holly that I had a back brace on, or like I
or
had
like
extra muscle.
extra muscle was like
Yeah, it was like
added
extra
into his
muscle
back.
added. So weird. And so I'm just like laying there and I laid on my back and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't hurt. Like I was moving around. I was like, I feel no pain. And
Yeah,
this is,
you said the stabbing pain was gone because
yeah,
normally if you like moved it a certain way, you'd feel like the stabbing pain.
yeah. And it's always hurt. But if I would do like arch this way, it was just like somebody jabbing a knife in my back. And it'd been 10 months since I haven't had any pain. And so I'm laying in bed and I was like moving around. I was like, holy cow, I feel no pain. And so I laid there for probably another hour or so.
I don't know. I was asleep.
Yeah, she was asleep. She was in the bed next to me, and I laid there for an hour because I was scared. I was like, if I move,
You waited for me to wake up.
yeah, I waited for her to wake up so I could tell her what happened because
Yeah.
I was so scared to move. Because if I had moved, I'm like, well, maybe something will happen. I don't know. I was just scared because I haven't been in pain for so long, and so I'm like, okay. So Holly wakes up. I'm like, hey, Holly. Guess what just happened? And so I told her, she's like, well, get up. I'm like, I don't want to, I'm scared. And so she's like, just get up and see what happened. So I got up and like I could move around and
You walked.
I was walking totally fine. My back had zero pain. Like it was completely 100% healed.
Like you wrestled with I remember you wrestled with the girls for the first time in 10 months.
Yeah, because they came in and I
Yeah.
told them and we just started wrestling because we
Yeah,
used to wrestle all the
you
time.
were like, I'm healed, and they're like, does that mean we can
Tickle tackle,
Yeah,
that's what
we
they call
play
it.
tickle tackle?
Tickle tackle. And
You're
so
like,
they jump on me and we started wrestling around.
And then we went to church. You were
Went
like
to church and I was
fine all day at church.
Fine all day. And then the next day I actually went back to the gym.
Yeah,
I went back to the gym and did squatted. Because at this point I'm like, okay, I just went through a really strange experience and I was obviously healed. And so the next day I was like, because I think I told Holly, I was like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. She's like, hold on. Are you sure you want to go to the gym? And I was like, yeah, he's obviously healed me because I floated and I did all this other crazy stuff. And now I feel no pain because the pain was so bad. I was just like, all right, I can move. I've been healed. That was the last time. Now it's been 6 years, 7 years, 6 years.
Almost 7.
Yeah.
That was 2000. It was August 21st, 2016.
Yeah, August 21st. So that was the last time I had any pain in my lower back. And people have asked me if I've gone an MRI. I don't feel the need to. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what my back looks like. I don't know if it still looks all jacked up like it did in the first MRIs or if it was like fixed. I have no idea. I just didn't care. I was like, whatever, I'm better. One thing that I will say, the reason why we're actually telling the story is because pretty soon after, Holly and I both, again, got an impression that you need to tell people. Obviously, I've told you more than I have told a lot of people because I usually don't tell people about the Jesus Christ thing. That was kind of a personal thing for me, but I don't know why. I just did it today.
I think something that we learned is that like God healed your back in an instant, but you personally had to be in a place like mentally and spiritually to receive that. And that took much longer. Like God can heal in an instant. And if you learn all about Jesus Christ and his teachings and like the New Testament, like he heals instantly. But us as people have to be able to receive that healing. We have to have the faith.
I think that's
the
faith. I feel like Holly had the faith for me. Like that's just the way I felt. I didn't have the faith that I was going to be healed. Holly had the faith for me. And that tells you how strong faith is. I don't know why he heals people and why he doesn't heal others. I have no idea. I can't explain. But all I know is that if you have the faith, miracles can happen. This is nothing to do with any particular religion. Is basically what I'm saying. Is just we were told you need to tell people.
Yeah.
And so that's why we started telling people. And it wasn't because, I don't know.
God wants his miracles to be told.
Yeah. And it's uncomfortable for me to tell these things. Like we went around telling my family, her family, and it was hard. It's hard to describe these things and explain what I saw because I look like a nut job to most people. So it was hard, but I was told to do it. And obviously if he could do a pretty awesome thing for me, I could probably just at least tell a story. So.
And I think also that the more we seek him, the more we see and feel his light around us. And I think that's another important message that he wants to get across is like seeking him, like spending our time immersing ourselves in him.
Hopefully it gives some people the strength to pray for miracles, because I do feel like we're coming into an age of miracles where I think people, I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy things happen for the good. So I think the one thing when I pray, the answer I keep getting to most things is just have faith. So I know it sounds really simple. It's not do this and this and this and this, and you got to go there, and you got to go to church every Sunday, and you got to hear. It's basically love people and have faith.
Immerse yourself in him.
Immerse yourself in him. Yeah.
Immerse yourself in God. So if you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear about, I mean, the more we tell people, the more we hear that there are other modern day miracles.
Yep.
So if you've read the book, The Circle Maker, there's one of Bryan's favorite quotes is in that.
Yeah. I think I've said it on here before. God honors bold prayers because bold prayers honor God. The more I've come to know God, the less I really fully understand about him. He works in mysterious ways. That's like the best thing. I always talk to people about it, and I was like, he works in mysterious ways. I do not understand him anymore, probably less than all the amazing things I saw.
So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, tell us about your experiences. We'd love to hear them. And thanks for watching Maeband.
See ya.